There's a great, not-so-secret way to make your solos more interesting and fun, but it took Jimmy Page's favorite solo for me to finally understand it. A long time ago, I started really wanting to learn rock and blues soloing. Back then, everything was a mystery to me, just a collection of notes, but I knew they sounded cool and I wanted to play them. However, I was in a band. I think we knew one song, Love Stinks by Jay Giles. Then one day at band practice, this little guy shows up, and he's got this huge guitar. He called it a Greenwich, not a Gretsch, a Greenwich. Anyway, it was all blue and sparkly. This guy was amazing. He was playing all sorts of cool riffs, ZZ Top, Ted Nugent, Zeppelin, even some Van Halen. And solos. He was just ripping through these lines and improvising them too. I couldn't believe it. I figured he must have some natural-born talent. So anyway, I screwed up my courage at the end of the practice and asked him how he did it. Of course, you've probably figured by now that he was just using the minor pentatonic box. But to me, it was amazing. All of a sudden, I could understand all sorts of solos that I've been trying to play, and I could even improvise and rip through lines just like he could. But after a while, I learned it wasn't everything. There were some players I was into, like Steve Howe and Peter Frampton and a few others, who were getting their sound from somewhere else. And that led me to learn the major scale and its modes, Dorian, Mixolydian, and so forth. This made a difference for sure, and I felt I grew as a player. I could play more melodically, and I understood solos like Lines on My Face or Do You Feel Like We Do. Then in college, a friend lent me The Royal Scam by Steely Dan. Don't Take Me Alive was a song I was instantly enthralled by. Of course, the beginning was amazing, but it was the ending lick that really intrigued me. Of course, it was the great Larry Carlton on guitar. Now, I had no idea where it came from, but believe it or not, my boss at work at that time was a jazz guitar player. So I asked him, I played it for him, and he said, oh, he's just using triad pairs. Triad pairs? Triads are chords, but this is a solo. Up until then, I had viewed the guitar playing world in two separate pieces. There was rhythm, where you used chords, and there was soloing, where you used scales. It never dawned on me that you could use chordal ideas in your solos. Starting on that road made such a huge difference in my play, not only in what I could play, but what I could see and how quickly I could see it. Now, this made me think of another song by Steely Dan, a favorite solo of mine and of Jimmy Page's, Reelin' in the Years. It was something that always mystified me. It's a great solo, and that was just the first part of it. What's really amazing to me is that it's all improvised, and he moves so quickly all over the fretboard. How did he do it? It was always a mystery to me. The chords are basically G and A, so I used A Mixolydian, and it sounded okay when I improvised, but I could not move that quickly all over the fretboard. I just couldn't process all that information. That's where using triads really comes in handy, because the triads are small bits of information, not big and clunky. So you can see them very, very quickly and move very quickly, with practice, of course. Let me show you a couple of places where triads are used in that opening solo, and it makes it a lot easier to understand and play. Now, this solo uses triads throughout, but let's pick it up at a couple of different key places. Here's the first place I want to point out. Right here. All of that is using triads. The first one is showing an A, and then there's a series of G triads. Here's the one at the 3rd fret, then parts of one at a 7th fret, and then parts of one at the 10th fret. Now this is actually a D triad that he uses, and it doesn't really matter, but that's beyond the scope of what we're going to cover in here. You can just think of it as a G triad that he's using there. And then finally the one at the 15th fret. Really remarkable. Okay, let's continue it. Here he's coming down a scale, Mixolydian scale. Now, all of that was just playing a really simple G chord and just finding an interesting picking pattern on it. It's really simple, but it's genius. I totally agree with Jimmy Page. It's one of the best solos on record. To learn more about incorporating triads into your solos, click on this link, because in it I give you a framework to do it even easier and better. So click on this link, check out that video. We'll see you in the video, and we'll see you on down the road.